You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Seventh Sanctum with Kerry Anne, only on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening and welcome. You're listening to Seventh Sanctum. It is Thursday evening and I am Kerry Anne, your regular host for the evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Parasearch UK Radio. And this evening we have a really interesting topic that's kind of been battered around a little bit through different forums, to be fair, and with different perspectives. So this evening I'm being joined by another presenter of the station, Kerry Greenaway. Welcome, Kerry.
Good evening, darling. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Good stuff. So I want to also introduce tonight, this is the second time I've had Carl Hutchingson on the show. It's always a pleasure. So I wanted to welcome Carl Hutchingson back to Seventh Sanctum. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
No problem, ladies, and it's good to be back on.
Good stuff. We had such a great time last time. We had to do it again.
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush.
So tonight we're asking, can there be experts within the paranormal field? Now, by definition, and I'm going to quickly read the definition for you guys. No, I'm not. I'm not going to, because I haven't saved it. But by definition, expert means someone who knows or has a lot of experience or a lot of knowledge about a certain aspect or concept or, field as such. So with that being said, an expert, is there room for experts within the paranormal field? I'm going to open it up to you, Carl. What do you think?
The word expert, I think it's only my personal view on it is that expert, I think, is too much of a bandied word around at the moment. I think you can have heaps of knowledge on a certain area or a certain aspect of what you do, but does that knowledge mean you're an expert? I think it's to do with the interpretation of the word in your own personal views on it. Whether you are a fay with equipment or a fay with investigation techniques, etc., doesn't mean that you are an expert. I don't think you can be an expert in the paranormal field. I think you can be knowledgeable, and I think you can be somebody that has the ability to pass on their knowledge on to somebody in the field. But I don't like the word being used, expert, because I don't believe that, like I said, anybody in the field can be an expert. I think there's some very, very knowledgeable people out there with years upon years of experience. But I just think that the word expert is too ambiguous, really.
So do you think, when we were talking about this earlier, me and Kerry, and I said, if someone was to approach you and said, for example, we use crystals, I know a lot about crystals, or I'm a crystal expert, out of those two, the more desirable would be the expert, isn't it? But it means one of the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does mean the same thing, but I think it's the terminology used that I have not concerns. I think it's how people proceed. Like, get the impression if you say you're an expert, because particularly in this field, because I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly taking on information from others, and I don't think you ever stop learning in this field. And I don't think that anybody really... I think it's just the definition expert that I don't like being used. Knowledgeable, things like that, I don't mind being used. But I think just the expert bit gives people, from an outsider's point of view, that you are the all-seeing, all-knowing font of everything. And I don't think that is possible to a point in this field at this precise moment in time, because it is an unproved science. So you can't really be an expert of something that's not proven.
And that's a very good point. That is something that I come across when I was looking into this. A lot of what I found when it comes to experts is we delve deeper into this a little bit later on in the show, but it is down to perception and what people feel meets the criteria. But from what I've come across, there isn't actually a bar that is set for, or, for example, a level where someone needs to be for them to be able to take on, and it is used as a title, really. People do put it before and after their name. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up to Kerry now. What do you think about what's been said so far?
I agree, actually. I do agree with that. I don't think anybody in this particular field should class themselves as an expert, because it's such an unknown quantity. There's so much that's not been proved. There's so many theories that are out there. And, you're the same as me, Kerry. We talk to so many different people, and so many people have different perspectives on things. And each time we come across somebody with a new perspective, we're like, oh, well, that throws a different spin on it. But there are hugely more knowledgeable people out there. And that's the point, isn't it? It's such a strange definition of a word. Where is that definition point, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We've got sorry, go on.
I was just saying I totally agree. I just think that sometimes the word is bandied around social media, kind of in a way of look at me on certain aspects. I think that it's just a word I just don't like. I just don't like the word expert in this field. It's just my own personal views. I just don't think you can be an expert. You can be knowledgeable, you can have loads of ideas, you can be a fay with all the different modern techniques or the old style techniques, but I think in my terms, the idea of an expert is that you know everything about the field. And I don't think you can. I think there's people out there that are extremely, extremely knowledgeable and have a lot of knowledge and have a lot of things to basically draw from in their kit bag, so to speak, whether it's to do with demonology, whether it's to do with equipment, whether it's to do with the medium side of it, etc., etc. But I think sometimes the word expert is too easily used in the field.
See, that brings a very good point, because we have got Kev Kerr in the chat room. So welcome, Kev. Thank you for joining us. And he's listening. And we've actually got some notifications that have come through on some of the posts that I have posted up today. And one of them that I posted is, we are talking about experts. Is there anyone within the paranormal field whom could be considered an expert? Now, Kev Kerr actually replied to this one. And he got a response from someone else, which looks at the other end of the spectrum. So this question, this is what Kev Kerr says. This question would depend on your point of view of the paranormal. I feel no one can be an expert in the paranormal, as it has a massive unanswered questions and is a very vast subject. But you can be an expert in investigation, or an expert in photography, or an expert in psychology, physics, electronics, biology, etc., etc. So, I'm sorry, Patricia, I hope I pronounced that right. Says you can be an expert in everything, but still you will not know it all. It's called evolution. What is news today, it will be history tomorrow. This is just my input. Now, I believe that both of these perspectives are true within their own right. Mm-hmm. And this highlights something that I believe. I truly believe this is all down to opinion. I believe that the term expert is almost like the word intelligence. When you look at intelligence, there is no real definition as such. People come to their own conclusion to what actually would make a person intelligent, whether it's their street savvy or whether they can do maths. I feel this the same way with expert, and it can be quite dangerous, like you said yourself, Carl. But both of them highlight a very interesting point. Now, Kevka says, yes, you can be an expert when you break down the paranormal and what it consists of in our investigative methods. You can have expertise. Now, for me, an expert would be someone that would have to have some kind of credit, some kind of certification, something that gives them that role and that right to be able to say, I'm an expert in my field. Mm-hmm. To me, the word is almost up there with professor or teacher or something. You know, it gives no stability. It makes them more desirable, and that's where the danger comes in. Because when that person claims to be an expert, when they're just saying I'm an expert because they feel they know more than what they need to. What they actually get is these people that follow them into their belief system, and might not be an expert in their field. You know, they might be dismissive of what else is out there, you know. So but then Patricia makes a very good point in the fact that actually, you know, what is happening today will be, you know, tomorrow's history. So we will never, ever know it all. There will always be something new for us to learn, no matter what it is. So what do you think about that, Carl?
I agree with what the people have said in the chat room, and what they've done is, because yes, you can be an expert in proven sciences such as photography, such as electronics, such as something that you can physically have a certificate behind, i.e. photography, and obviously all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to the paranormal, because it is an unproven science, because people look to people out in the field who say they're an expert, it's just a terminology I just don't like. I think, yes, you can be an expert in, say, photography, because that is proven. You can have a camera, you can know the ins and outs of the camera, etc., etc., and you can go to school, you can go to university, you can do degrees, you can do online courses. But when the word expert is used in the paranormal, I just feel uncomfortable using that, or the word being used. You can, like I've said before, knowledgeable, have years upon years of experience, but that years upon years experience doesn't make you an expert. But because somebody new to the field who has a different way of looking at it could come up with an idea that you've never thought of, does that mean that they're suddenly an expert? No, they've just got other ideas, they've got other ways of doing things, and it's that whole part of learning from others and moving on and enlightening or enlarging your mindset when you're doing stuff. And I think that's what makes the field of the paranormal so enjoyable, is that you can learn from absolutely anybody, whether they've been in the field 50 years or they've been in the field 5 minutes. It just takes one idea, one way of doing something, one bit of experiment, one bit of research that just will trigger somebody's think, oh, I've not thought of it that way. That's brilliant. I'm going to try and use that in my area, or etc., etc. So it's just the terminology.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I do agree with you there. But going back to something you said previously, when you said about, you can go to classes, you can do online courses. There is the same out there for parapsychology as well. So with that in mind, when we go to classes to learn things like photography and psychology, we have a teacher that is in a position to be able to teach us. So what about these courses that are available to people to be able to get certificated in parapsychology? How do you feel about those? I open that both to you and to Carl and Kerry.
Do you want to go first, Kerry?
Well played, Carl.
Okay, I have only ever done a herbology course. I have not done a parapsychology or any other form of courses. My experience of courses they are well, put it this way. The course I did, and again, it was a herbology course. It wasn't anything to do with, paranormal. It was very multiple choice, and it wasn't done under test circumstances. It wasn't even done by a teacher. You basically read a module and then answered multiple choice questions. And of course, you've got your module, so if you got stuck, you could then refer back to your module to answer said questions. So ultimately, the qualification I got from that isn't worth anything, in all honesty, because I didn't have to learn it and then sit in a test circumstance and then, know that knowledge, because I could refer back to the module. So it would depend on the course. Now, this was an online course, as a lot of these courses are, and I do see that they're great for increasing your knowledge base and giving you more knowledge and giving you something to refer back to, because I've still got all that information. But did I learn the field of herbology? Could I class myself as an expert in herbology? No, not a chance. And yet I have a certificate that says I can now make potions and lotions and all sorts of wonderful things using herbs, because I've got this certificate. And I don't think so. I don't think that's right. In all honesty, I don't think that's right. As I say, I've never looked at a parapsychology course. I would much rather buy a decent psychology book or a decent investigation book from somebody who's been in the field for a long time and is very knowledgeable, or talk to somebody that's, been in the field a long time, than pay money out to do a course, in my opinion. I'm not saying all courses are bad. I'm just saying, in my opinion, there are other ways you can gain that knowledge. And even in crystals, I've never done a course in crystal work. I've gone away, I've done my own research, I've worked with crystals, and I've built my own knowledge base up from my own work, rather than taking a course where I can answer a multiple choice question at the end of it and then say that I've got a certificate. That's personal choice of how I wish to learn. As I say, I'm not saying these courses are bad, but I'm just saying you've got to keep firmly in mind exactly what it is you're paying for.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that front, Kerry. But the thing that you mentioned a minute ago was the whole thing about parapsychology. You can go to university to take a parapsychology course. So there's that area of area to go into that will give you tools that you can use in the field. And I think that's the key. I think that's the thing that I think about this field is you learn things that you can personally take into the way you do stuff and use it to progress yourself. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you're doing it right. It doesn't mean the other person is doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. It just means that you are progressing yourself through your journey through this field. And I think I'm all in favour of people learning things. It's the bit that I find the grey areas when people pay money to get a bit of, like you say, get a bit of paper at the end of a 6-week course. There you go. I'm now this, or I've done that. That is the grey area which I don't really feel happy with. It doesn't mean that these people are wrong to spend their hard-earned money to go on these courses because they want to learn. I don't have any problem with that. It's the whole thing about, I've got a certificate. I got a certificate sitting at home for riding a bike when I was at school. Doesn't mean I'm an expert on a bike. It just means I know how to pedal a bike. So it's just the way people perceive the word and perceive the whole experience. You can go, like I said, you can go to university, you can study parapsychology. And there are some unbelievable people out there that do these courses. Kieran O'Keefe, he does a very, very good course. And there are other great people out there. And then there's you flip that on the other thing. People that I've known in this field for all the years I've been doing it, who I look up to in the field, and have the experience, have the knowledge, and that's what I like. I like learning from people, and I like learning to see what people do. It's one of these subjects which isn't black or white. Some people will think, yes, I'm an expert. Some people will think, no, you can't have experts. There's no in between ground, really. It's as we both, all three of us have said, it's your own perspective of the word.
That's it. I mean, speaking earlier, now when we were looking at experts who we would consider experts or would have the right to be able to call themselves an expert, in my opinion, Kerry would have been I reckon Kerry could acknowledge herself as being an expert within crystals. Now, when I say that to her, she recalls, because there's no way, in her opinion, she could ever be as knowledgeable as some of the people that she considers experts and looks up to. And then when we were talking about being able to recognise experts within the paranormal field, and not as in the whole of the paranormal field, but with aspects of the paranormal field, when you break it down, we were talking about equipment. Now, me and Kerry both considered yourself as someone that would be an expert in equipment, but with that being said, that's not something you acknowledge yourself as. So it is very personal, and I think it's always someone that you feel knows more than you automatically could recognise as an expert. But, as the point we've made earlier, and Ashley has made it in the chat room, there's no actual real bar that's set here. There's no criteria that's being asked to be met. There's nothing here that says, right, it's not until you do this, this, this and this, can you then actually be acknowledged by others, and you can actually then refer to yourself as an expert. You could be in this for 5 minutes, do a parapsychology course or something that focuses on one, like Harry Price, for example. You could study Harry Price and then within, feel that you've become an expert in that. That doesn't necessarily mean you are, but there's nothing stopping you from referring yourself to that. I think that's the most dangerous thing here. This is what really pees a lot of people off, is that people can just say it. And the thing is, really, you can't challenge it. You can sit there and go, well, I don't believe you. And I go, okay, that's fine. You can't stop them from saying it.
Yeah. And Ashley has hit a nail on the head, is that because this is unproven, because you can't really set a bar, how can you be an expert? How can you be somebody expert to what? The person down the street or whatever. It's that whole yes, you can be knowledgeable, yes, you can have encyclopedia memory of Harry Price or equipment or locations or demonology or this, that and the other, but from somebody else's views, that doesn't mean you're an expert. But somebody else might look up at that person and go, right, they're an expert. But that 9 times out of 10, you say to somebody in the field who's got a lot of knowledge, you're an expert. I can guarantee most of them will say No, we're not. We're not an expert. And that's when it comes down to the people that banish this around and put it all around the place, saying I'm an expert at this, that and the other. And they're openly jumping on the bandwagon to say they are an expert. Doesn't mean they're wrong to do it. But you've just got, in my eyes, and what I get into the field and what I want out of the field is I want to learn. I want to take on experiments. I want to basically learn more about equipment to better my knowledge about it. So I look up to people in equipment-wise, such as some of the designers, some of the guys like Gary Galkin or Bill Chappell, that have years upon years of experience of building the equipment. I'd like to learn from them to see how they come up with these ideas, how they basically take this out. But Ashley hits, like you said, Ashley keeps on saying it when I've listened to shows and I've listened to Ashley. It's an unproven science. We can't. So what are we doing? It's technically, from an outsider's point of view who doesn't believe in it, we're all nuts.
Yeah. Me and Kerry were talking about that today, actually. We were talking about that today, and then we was like talking about experts and those that think that they, that say they are, and those that aren't, and those that are. And I said to her, well, without offending anyone, and I hope people agree with me, is that we're a strange bunch, and including us, and realising that actually we then use the term quirky. We're quirky.
We went to quirky. We did. We went to quirky.
You have to be. You have to be in this field, because at the end of the day, my brother, he's my older brother, he's known me all my life, he looks at me and just rolls his eyes when I talk about what I've been up to, because he doesn't understand that you spend hours upon hours in a dark, damp cave, tunnel, hotel, this, that and the other, and my brother just looks at me and goes, well, you're sitting in the dark and you're doing this. And I said, yeah, but until you experience it, you're not going to know what it's like. But he sort of looks at me like I'm completely and utterly nuts to be doing what I do. And me and my brother have many a conversation about it, and he's listened to the radio show I do. He's listened to me doing the interviews. He's seen me go on this, that and the other. And he just thinks, and people actually listen to this, or people come to these things. He just doesn't get the concept that there's people out there that think the same. And that's why I think that the field is brilliant, because once you get into a situation where you have like-minded people, you can feel you can talk to these people. You can feel you can share your experiences, your ideas with them. That's why I think conventions or get-togethers are brilliant, because you suddenly feel that you're in a room and nobody's looking at you like you've just walked off a banana boat. Like you're completely and utterly wackadoodle. Because, people do. You go out like on a social night and you're out with your friends who know what you do, and then the subject comes up, what you do at weekends, and people go, you do what? And 9 times out of 10, it's usually they start singing Ghostbusters to you, or who you're going to call, and all that malarkey. But when you're in an environment where you're surrounded by people who are like-minded, you feel comfortable, and you learn a lot more as well.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's right.
It's the same in regards to like me and Kerry when we say we work, we're sensitive. Straight away, if you're talking to people that aren't used to that, they'll, can you see anything now? What are you feeling? Can you tell me so? Tell me something. No, you can't. You can't do that. So it is. I understand that, but with that being said, it's great when we meet our own people. I refer to them as my tribe, my people. Do you think that when the word expert comes into things, that it then puts us on an uneven playing field? That some people can be dismissive of other people because of their lack of knowledge or their lack of interest in what that person feels is important to know. Do you think that causes conflict somewhat?
You're now opening up a different type of jar on that one, is coming down to the whole thing which we've discussed before, and that's the whole thing about, well, I'm better than you and you don't know nothing. Egos.
Yes.
And
I'll tell you what, before you go, I'll give you some time to think. We've actually got to go to a quick break. Have a think about those questions. I'm going to open it up to everyone in the chat room as well. Do you feel that the word expert puts everyone on an uneven playing field? And is it possibly a factor in regards to people within the field and acknowledging that not everyone is going to believe in the same thing within the paranormal? So I'm going to leave that with you guys, and we're going to go to a quick break.
Join Kerry Greenaway and Jay Lynch for the Parasearch UK radio show as they share their paranormal news, views and reviews from the UK and the USA, with the help of guests from both sides of the pond. Will they agree or agree to disagree? Find out every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on Paramania Radio.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
Welcome back. I don't quite know where Kerry Anne has disappeared
off
to. Oh, she's there. Sorry, carry on.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And before we went to the break, we, I threw open a question. Do you think that for using the word experts puts us on an uneven playing field? Before I go to Carl, I'm going to go to Kerry. I'm going to ask Kerry, what do you think with that?
I think this is another one of those, isn't it? And what do I think about that? Well, I think that if I meet somebody and they've classed themselves as an expert, I personally immediately feel that I am at a disadvantage to that person. And because by putting that word on them or themselves, them putting that word on themselves, it is basically saying, I know a lot more than you do. Now, I'm not huge. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, and I know quite a lot about crystals, but there's no way I'd bandy myself as an expert in crystals. And I certainly would never introduce myself in that way, because it almost closes down. It does cause a barrier, because you're like, well, where do I start with that? Because whatever I bring to the table now, they're going to know more than me because they're that expert. Do you know what I mean? It's a mental block more than necessarily a real block. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, I agree.
Totally.
Carl?
Absolutely, totally agree with you. I think that the whole bit where you've got somebody saying they're an expert does make other people feel like they can't say anything, like they don't want to look stupid. Or they're scared of voicing their own opinions because they might get ridiculed, or the person who is with that terminology expert might look down at them like, well, they know nothing or whatever. So I do think that sometimes when you have the word expert branded around, it, like you say, it does put us on people on the back foot, because they're worried what they're gonna, if they say anything stupid or they do something silly or they don't know how a bit of equipment works or they don't know anything about research, or they don't know about this, that, and the other. I think sometimes they'll keep quiet instead of openly discussing their views, their thoughts, their opinions, because you're only going to learn in this field if you're open to basically be able to voice your own opinions as well.
But do you think that also it kind of opens up an expectation as well from that person? So having that person introduce themselves as an expert, you're automatically expecting that person to be really knowledgeable, and not only that, but you're going to trust what is being said as also. So it puts people in a dangerous position, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if you just to give a scenario, and I'm not saying this like I know that any particular situation, but if you are Joe Public that wants to get into this field, and you're looking at wanting to go on a ghost hunt on a public event, and you see a group out there that say they're an expert in this, that, and the other, you are going to basically want to go with them because you think, they know everything. And then you go on air and it's a completely flat night. They don't know anything. It's going to start putting you off to come back into the field or go back on another event. So I just think you just have to be very, very cautious and very, very wary when those terminologies are bandied around.
Also, as well, when you are watching or listening or experiencing the expert in awe, you're then put in a really vulnerable position, because I am looking at it this perspective, which may be different to how you may be looking at it. But to me, I feel like it's a very, I use the word dangerous, but I'm going to use that term very loosely because it's not as dangerous as danger, watch out. But if you have got very vulnerable people, if you have got people that haven't, and I say vulnerable, people that haven't been on investigations before, don't know what to expect, and they're first exposed to this expert that knows exactly what they're doing, and they don't, and it either scares them, worries them, concerns them, has an effect on them, that's where I'm with it. That's where it worries me, because they have that title, it automatically, even if you don't realise it, brings in a level of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where my concerns are. But turning this into a little bit of a direction, we've spoken about why we feel like, there possibly may not be, or it's difficult to say what is an expert and what not within the paranormal. Where within, the little subgenres, do you feel that we can have experts, and where we can have people that, can acknowledge themselves as that?
Gordon Bennett.
I've heard that in a long time. So, for example, if you have you come across a person who, within equipment, this is something that you may know more about than I do, because I don't know very much about equipment, but you have people that make their own apps or make their own pieces of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that person is an expert because they're able to do that, or just someone who is just really good with their hands?
When it comes to equipment, you've got to take it sort of out of the paranormal field slightly and then bring it back into the paranormal field, because at the end of the day, most of the equipment that you see on there that has been designed electronically, various different algorithms put into it, various different components, so you have to have a knowledge of how to put something together in that way, which you can get credited when, like electronics, you can be, obviously, if you are good at electronics or you are an electrician, that you know how things work and you know how to put a circuit together, etc., etc. Yes, you can be an expert designer, you can be an expert in putting things together, but that doesn't mean when you've designed it that you can then take that and say you're an expert in the paranormal because you've designed it. because
Yes.
you've got to be able to use it. You've got to be able to understand it, and you've got to be able to take it into an investigation. You could be somebody who knows that everything you want to know about full spectrum cameras, stills cameras, etc. But if you've never been on an investigation, or you've never had the ability to go on an investigation, you might not know how to use it. You know how to obviously take a photo, you know how to obviously do this, that, and the other, but I could stand in my garden and take photos. Does that make me an expert because I know how to use a digital camera? No. So I think there's certain elements. You can break down every single area of the field into areas where you can sort of go, right, he knows how to put a circuit together, he knows this, he knows that, but does that make him an expert in being an investigator or this, that and the other? So I think there's so many different elements that make up the paranormal. I don't think, as we said at the start, I don't think you can call yourself an expert in the paranormal.
No, I mean, going back to the chat room, I was like, Ashley coming in with a comment and then quickly dropped the mic, as he put, and then Andy Mercer went and made him pick it up. Good on you, Andy. Andy made a very good point. Now, Ashley was is talking about the fact he would never become an expert, nor would he ever claim to be. That for him would be admission that he claimed to know all that he needed to know, or at least an extreme amount of information on the subject. His drive is always to be able to learn more and push my own knowledge, his own knowledge as a whole, which is exactly what he has always said to me and Kerry. So Andy Mercer challenged that and said, of course you can become an expert. It's a question of what you want to become an expert in. And Ashley says we don't need experts, we need mentors. Now, Andy then made a really good point, and this is one thing I did want to go back to in regards to the parapsychology courses and the courses that are within the paranormal. At what point we've come across and we've spoken quite clearly about the fact that it's really difficult to actually become a certified expert within the paranormal field because it's a pseudoscience. It's not really well respected as such, and I hope I'm not offending anyone by saying this, by scientists or really psychologists, to be fair. And there's not really that much in the way of academic studying in regards to universities as such. There is courses out there, but they tend to be, that I've come across, so within a psychology degree or so somewhat basically that. So with that being said, where are these people coming from that gives them the right to be able to teach parapsychology? Where are these teachers coming from which should be considered experts?
Yeah, I think you've sort of got the answer to your question with what you've just said, is that they've taken something that is creditable, which is psychology, and they've then basically taken that into parapsychology, which is knowing how the human body or the mind can react to give yourself an explanation of what potentially is happening to a human being when they're seeing a ghost, or they're doing this, or what they're seeing, what they're hearing, or what they believe the evidence is. So I think what they've done is they've taken a proven science, being psychology, the way the mind works, etc., and then they've taken it because they've probably had an interest in the paranormal as well, and they've sort of mashed it together. So they've taken their knowledge of psychology and put it into the paranormal field.
So do you think that a parapsychologist teacher would have to have had a qualification or some kind of insight, like a degree in psychology, to be able to then teach parapsychology?
I think it would be advisable and useful to know that, yes.
Okay. I just find it really interesting just because of it's something, it's not, I won't say it's a bugbear. There are some fantastic courses run by some fantastic people out there, and these people are really knowledgeable. But it's just, you do have people out there that set up their own kind of colleges as such.
Yeah,
like bed knobs and broomsticks. You know, the witch course that she took that just ended up being a kid's book in a library. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
I think that's where the fundamental thing lies behind it, which people need to, and I think a lot of people do this, is that you need to do your research about anything. So basically, if you want to know about the events company you're going on, do a bit of research about it. If you're going to take a course, do some research about who's doing the course and what you get out of it before you put your hard-earned cash across the table to take it on board. I don't think anybody has the right to tell anybody that they can't use their own money to do these courses. But I just think it's advisable for people to do some research into what they're spending their money on. When it comes to my area, which I'm knowledgeable about, is equipment, and I do my research before I use the money to buy equipment. I don't just go, oh, it's on TV, I'm going to have it. I used to be like that, but I think
that sounds a little bit like when me and Kerry bought a K2, and then after having our interview of you, we shook it and it rattled.
Yeah, it's true that.
Yeah. all it is a little bit of foam that stops it rattling.
That's so annoying.
Oh, I was like, oh, damn you, Carl.
The amount of people that I've said things to, like when they've said, "Oh, have a look at this and that," and I just pick up their K2. You can pick up a K2 and just by the feel of it, the weight of it, before you even say anything, you know what you've got in your hand. And that just comes with being very
knowledgeable.
I'll put my hand up. I've been burnt in the past where I have actually ended up with K2s that haven't been the real deal. Because I've just got I've just seen it, I bought it, and then when it arrives, it's not what it's a fake K2.
Yeah.
So, but you just got to know what you just do. I think just do your research, do your due diligence about things before you. Doesn't mean that after you've done your research and that, it doesn't mean that you're wrong to then go out and still use your money on these courses. I'm not saying that these courses are wrong. I'm not saying these people are wrong to actually be holding these courses. I just feel it's a bit. Sometimes there are people out there that are out just to make a fast buck.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I'm not saying that people shouldn't take these courses and that they are wrong. My concerns are mainly with these, colleges and universities that kind of just spring up. There's no real history there. The courses are extortionate, and at the end of it, you'll get a certificate that I can just bang up on a computer. And that's where my frustration comes, because these people genuinely have an interest and they're investing in themselves to be able to go forward with what they enjoy doing, because it's not a hobby. Well, it is, but it's a very serious one that people, can build their life's work on. And I feel like there's those people that get taken advantage of in that situation. Again, not all colleges, not all courses are like that. Do your research, and like you said, but there is that frustrating thing where you just, like you said, people are out to make a buck, and it's those that have got a genuine interest that ends up suffering, which is really sad.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned over the years is that the people that I've spoken to over the years, and I know Ashley's in the chat room, and me and Ashley have sat up like into the wee small hours when we've got together on conventions and this, that, and the other, and we've chewed the fat over every possible aspect of the paranormal. But we still, when we meet up, we're exactly the same. We go there, we talk. Because I think me and Ashley are quite similar, where we both want to learn, and we want to learn from people, and we want to basically have the knowledge. But we're also quite realistic when it comes to this field, and it's amazing when like going back to what we were saying earlier about being surrounded by like-minded people, where you can learn so much from. Even you can be chatting to somebody that's just been in the field 5 minutes, and he just says, "Oh, I did it this way," and all of a sudden, something in your head will go, "Ping! I've never thought of it that way." You're learning from that person, and I think the fundamental of this field is you never stop learning. Once you've stopped learning, I think that's when you become closed, and that's when I think you need to take a step back and look at yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. I do think that that's the one thing, whether you are a skeptic or a believer, that remaining open-minded is really important, because it's when you become closed-minded that you actually shut yourself off from even the most outlandish logical reasons. You know, I mean, speaking to Paul Rook, some of these logical reasons are really out there. What could be the possible answer to what's gone on? But that being said, I still have to be open-minded to that, even if it makes me laugh that he'd rather believe that the zebra riding the ostrich come down and hit him in the head and then flew away on the purple rainbow. But I have to be open-minded.
Now that sounds like a bloody good nod.
That just sounds logic. You just said a logical explanation, and I'm like sitting thinking,
Sounds like some of the conversations. That sounds like some of the conversations me and Ashley have had late night on a convention night.
I so need to do one of these conventions.
To be fair, with Paul, it's the other end of the spectrum in the realist side of things. I mean, some of the explanations he's come up with for something that's happened, and I think, did you really go there? Is that where your mind went? You know, really mundane. Well, it must have been that, because it couldn't be anything else. Like, the fact you believe that over that it could be something unexplained is more shocking to me, because that just doesn't make sense to me. But then again, you have to be open-minded, because to him, that's how he made sense of that situation. So it's when you start going, no, sorry, and dismissing it completely, that's when I feel that, you know, people become, that's when egos come in, I feel, almost.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
totally.
don't get me wrong, I don't think that we should be open-minded to everything that's being said. I mean, there's great chats in the chat room, and everyone's making really valid points and bouncing off of each other, but it's when people go, no, I can't give you an explanation, but I don't want to believe yours either. That's when I think to myself, well, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to when somebody is trying to influence somebody else with their point of view and won't take the other person's point of view categorically and say, you're wrong, but I'm right.
Yes.
That's when it starts getting a little bit out of hand.
Yeah. But it's great, I mean, like I said in the chat room, it's great to see that these concepts, ideas and thoughts, they're building on top of each other. People are taking what's being said and they're building upon that to maybe explore a different avenue. That is amazing, and that's how we learn, by looking at that in a different light. But like I said, it's that just goes, no, sorry, I'm not open to that, which is a bit difficult. But before we go, is there anything, Carl, you would like to add? So, I mean, we've still got a couple of minutes, but anything you would like to finish with?
What, tap dance? Or
something. I'm expecting glitter. I'm expecting fireworks, glitter.
I don't really have anything
magical.
Glitter on my... No glitter. No, sorry. I just think, going back to what we've said, and just for people that are listening, that are new to the field or thinking about coming into the field, or people that have been in the field for a long time, just like you say, don't be closed-minded, don't be it's your way or the highway. Learn from people, respect people's views, because once you start disrespecting other people's views, that's when I think you should really get out of the field. Learn from people, learn from people, learn from people.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Kerry?
Yeah, I second that. Use the courses as a knowledge base, not as a bandied expertise. Don't not do the courses, but keep in mind that it's just expanding your knowledge base. Talk to people that have been in the field a long time. Talk to people that have been in the field 5 minutes. Keep talking to people. Keep reading. Keep looking at the internet. Keep expanding your knowledge base, because it's an ever-growing, ever-changing area, and it's fascinating and it's amazing, and you meet some really quirky people.
Quirky. We're going to go with quirky.
We're sticking with quirky.
Hashtag quirky people.
Hashtag quirky people. I love it.
I wouldn't have anyone else any other way. I'll be honest with you. I love the people that I'm around. I love that we're so different, and I love that we're all the same. I do. I think it's amazing. So
it would be a very, very boring life if everybody was exactly the same.
That's it. We make the world go round, even if we are strange.
Yeah, even if you are riding a purple unicorn.
Purple rainbow. Purple rainbow.
Sorry. A purple unicorn riding a purple rainbow.
Well, I'm not sure if I said purple unicorn, but we're going to go with that. We'll go with it, because I can't remember exactly. But I would like to ask, what have you got coming up? Have you got anything interesting coming up? I know you do your own radio show. Have you got anything coming up?
As you know, I'm sort of on a bit of a sabbatical at the moment. I haven't got anything planned at the moment. I'm pottering around my house, fiddling around with my cases of equipment, seeing what I can do, doing a complete and utter checklist of it, and seeing what I haven't used in 10 years, 5 years, and what I use quite regularly. Just clearing my mind, just getting back to a situation where I can, at some point in the future, whether it's next week, whether it's 2 years down the line, whether it's 5 years down the line, when I'm ready to go back into the actual investigation. But it doesn't mean that I'm not playing around with equipment, reading about it, talking about it, enjoying it in that way. I'm just not doing the investigations at the moment.
Well, as soon as you do, me and Kerry need to be the first ones you call.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. Before we leave, there is a show this evening, Kerry, isn't there?
There is. It's on a different network called Paramania, with myself and Jay Lynch. And we're talking to Paul Rook tonight. I'm going to be delving into Paul Rook's little brain, or we are going to be delving into Paul Rook's little brain. And we're actually interviewing him rather than the other way around, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
And as you can tell, Paul Rook is a very interesting character.
Very.
From my previous descriptions. He is amazing, actually, to be fair. Very knowledgeable, and he's great fun as well. I used to do the paranormal debate with him, and I miss him greatly. And ever since, I've been trying to get him to do another show with me, so it will happen. Watch his space. But tomorrow is your Parasearch UK radio station show, isn't it? Dark Mirrors. What have you got tomorrow?
Well, we do love to bring out the crazy theory on a Friday. We like to have a little bit of fun and look at some of the different weird and wonderful things that are out there in the unexplained and paranormal world. And tomorrow, oh I can't believe he's talked me into doing this. I really can't. We're doing the Hollow Earth theory.
The what?
It's Hollow Earth theory. Trust me, tune in tomorrow. If you want a little bit of fun, a little bit of crazy, then that's what you're going to get tomorrow.
What experiment?
It's called the Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Honestly, it's all about, basically, there is a theory.
Too much away.
I'm not going to give too much away. There's a theory out there that there is another world inside this world.
Oh, so it's a bit like Men in Black and the thing with...
Think Journey to the Centre of the Earth kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? The Hollow Earth theory. And there's a lot, believe it or not, there is so much on this topic. And Yeah, I mean, we do like to lighten the world on a Friday evening. So join us for that, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy, I love you so much, and obviously, but it's Friday night. It's the beginning of the weekend, and we like to have a little bit of fun. So it's those kind of topics we were allowed to tackle on a Friday.
I mean, if you're about tonight, that's on Paramania Station. It is the Parasearch UK radio show. That's with Jay Lynch and Kerry Greenaway interviewing Parasearch UK radio presenter Paul Rook. And then tomorrow on Parasearch UK radio station, Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley is going to be talking about Hollow Earth theory. So make sure you tune in. That's at 9 o'clock tomorrow. So get your paranormal weekend started right by tuning in to us guys and having a listen, and a bit of fun by the sounds of it. So,
very much fun.
I'm going to say goodnight to Carl. Thank you so much for joining us again. I love when you're on the show.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Anytime you need me, just know where I am.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I'm going to say thank you for Kerry Greenaway for coming on tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great fun. So I'm going to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next Thursday.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.